Thank you very much. I'm really happy to be here. When I met Rick and Regina in March in Colombia, and they suggested me to attend to this meeting, I couldn't say no. They were so nice, and we really enjoyed our time in there. I'm gonna start sharing my screen, and I hope you see.
I thought what happens in Colombia stays in Colombia.
Oh yes, for sure, for sure. I mean.
Sure.
Medellin nights are crazy. No, we really had a good time in there. We really had a good time. And when they said, okay, which topic do you think would be interesting to talk about? And there's something that we've been talking a lot in the last months, and I would even say in the year, it's about adaptive organizations. So we're gonna go there in a minute, just to introduce myself. I work in a company called NetMind. This company is based in Spain, but recently has been acquired by a global company called BTS. I will go there in a minute. And I wrote a book about agility 2 years ago. It's called La Empresa Ágil. It's only in Spanish so far. So what I usually say, if you want to improve your agility knowledge and your Spanish, this is a great combo, because in just one book, you have both things. So you can improve your Spanish and agility. Okay, no, just kidding, but okay, it's available in Amazon. I'm just gonna put the link here in case you're interested. Oops, here it is. I don't know how many people here do speak Spanish, just for curiosity, because I see some names here that sounds Spanish to me. Okay, González, Chiara, so Neilu, yeah, obviously I knew you that. Viral, un poco. Okay, then it's perfect for the ones who speak a little, because they can improve their Spanish and at the same time doing this, learning about Agile a little bit. So BT, as the company BTS, we only have NetMind offices in Barcelona and Madrid, but BTS has 35 offices in so many countries. I think in the States we have about 5 or 6 offices, and we joined that company in their innovation and digital transformation practice. Okay, just to know who is behind your screen for the rest of the session. If we go now into detail, this is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about adaptive organizations and why we think it's important to adapt, and what is our definition, what is our understanding regarding adaptive organizations. Then we'll go deeper. That's going to be the main section, how to design adaptive organizations. We're going to talk about organizational structures, and we're going to talk about the specific things you can do. 6 specific things you can do in different areas regarding adaptive organizations, and then how to approach this journey, to adaptability. So let's start. And as they usually say, let's start with why. And I think the first reason is quite obvious. I mean, coronavirus, the pandemic changed a lot of things regarding our way of working, and the companies who could adapt to this main change are the ones who survived. So this may happen again, and this may happen even worse. There's a concept called a black swan. This is a really disruptive event. This is from a book from Nicholas Taleb. And from time to time, we may have this really rule-changing event that turn everything upside down, or just because market goes down or market changes. All of those are kind of negative scenarios. We could also think on positive scenarios. Maybe we have great ideas that we want to bring to the market. We need to make sure that those ideas work, and we need to make sure that we put those ideas in the market fast. Or new technologies, disruptive technologies. In the last, I think, month or 6 weeks, artificial intelligence and ChatGPT is being really everywhere. And it's like, okay, what are you doing to take advantage of this? What are your internal processes that allow you understand this and then react? This is being adaptive, because at the end, it's about our customers. It's about, okay, how can we respond and fulfill to the needs of our customers? This is why we need to be adaptive. What I'm going to show now, it's our definition, our understanding of what are adaptive organizations. I'm going to let you read it for a moment. I'm going to drink some water. So adaptive organizations, those that are designed to quickly adjust. And when I say quickly, there's a book from Manuel Pais and Matthew Skelton called Team Topologies, and the description of business agility, when they say it's about making fast decisions, they put oh, what's the word in English of asterisco? It's a star. I don't know
Asterisk.
what's asterisk. Oh, I didn't know it was so easy. So they put an asterisk in there, and they say in hours. When they say quickly, they mean in hours, making decisions. So our understanding is quickly adjust, modifying competencies, their mindset, their organizational structure, and their ways of working to respond to new challenge. And this new challenge can be changes in the market, or emerging technologies, new economic scenarios, or whatever. Those are adaptive organizations. And when we talk to our customers and we see the market and we listen to them and we see how they react, we've realized there are a few characteristics that are common to those companies who we think that are adaptive organizations, that they can adapt quickly. And those characteristics are those 4 in here. They are really customer-centric. They are continuously prioritizing and continuously delivering. They are very good on making quick decisions, but also good decisions. I mean, you can make quick back decisions. So they're good on making quick aligned decisions, and they are resilient. So I'm going to go for each of those 4 to better explain what do we mean by each one. So when we say that they are customer-centric, it's because they are continuously having conversation with their stakeholders. They have a habit of active customer listening. They're listening to their customers so they can detect market changes and trends. They're good on anticipating, okay, this thing that this customer told me, something really similar, another customer told me last week. And they start to connect the dots. And they collect this customer feedback and data so they can make decisions. This is what makes them customer-centric, because they're listening and responding to their needs. They can be explicit or implicit needs. And with this information, what they do is they prioritize. They are always able to change the plans, and they are always delivering. And this is really difficult. They know when to pivot or when to discard something. They have a continuous flow of work, and in order to do that, they are organized around value streams. They are not siloed. All of those are characteristics that we've seen. Also, we've seen that they very quick on decision making. How do they do that? Because they have low bureaucracy and they have empowered decision making. They have decentralized, they have allowed the decisions to be taken where the information is. And they do this because they have a transparent, fluent, and open communication throughout the whole organization. It's not about killing the messenger. And they are honest and they are sincere in their way of explaining things and with the customer saying, okay, to be honest, I think we cannot do that. To be honest, I think we need to postpone this. And it's easier to keep a promise if you're sincere and you're honest. And then this allows them to be fast on responding. And also as a mindset, they are resilient. They are resilient because they are always learning and improving what they've learned. They have a coherent culture, meaning that what they say and what they do is aligned. So if in their values it's, oh, we are sustainable and environmental friendly, and then they cheat in some test results, or so this is having this coherent culture. And they experiment. They have a friendly environment to try things. And that makes very resilient. Also ability to reteaming. We're going to talk later about the concept of reteaming. They are able to, okay, let's change this team and let's create that other team, and they do it really, really fast. So those 4 characteristics that we've seen, that doesn't mean that they are the only ones. This is like a pattern we've seen. But then when we try to think of that from a systemic perspective, in which dimensions do adaptive organizations need to work, we've based on this, we've expanded those concepts in this, what we call dimensions, these 9 dimensions. This is one of our consultants, Alonso Alvarez, also that's the one who co-wrote the book with me. We were a team of 4, and he's doing now a PhD on business agility, and he has created these 9 dimensions of business agility for adaptive organizations. It's about working on the human perspective, people, leadership, and culture. It's about generating value, and you can do that because of your processes, the way you do the delivery and the technology you're using, and the way you are organized, meaning the governance, the strategy, and the whole organization, with the customer in the middle, and knowing that you are always transforming. This is also, this is a work in progress. So I think you are almost the first who have seen this, because this is a work in progress effort that we're doing. So I hope that in the following months we'll have more detail on this. So stay tuned, because we hope to give more news on this. So this is our point of view of what are adaptive organizations and why they need to adapt. Now let's change to the second one, because it's okay, we know what they are. I want to be like this. What can we do? What can we do? So let's talk a little bit about organizational structures and specific things you can do. And on the first half, organizational structures, we're going to talk about those. Are you familiar with some of those concepts? Here, we're going to talk about networks versus hierarchies. We're going to talk about the Kotter's dual model. Another approach based on the product or service evolution, we're going to use wordlay maps for that. There's an example from a Chinese company called Haier. And I'm going to talk about two specific, I don't know if to call them frameworks. It's unfixed and flight levels. Are you, okay, let's do a test. Please write down in the chat, which one from 1 to 6, which one are you more curious about? Which one are you, I haven't heard about this, I'm curious about that one. I see a number 2 here. What are you curious to have a little bit deeper? Donna says 5, unfixed, okay. Higher. Okay, good. So Viral says, oh, almost all of them. Okay, good. Let's go for it. Networks versus hierarchies. Let's start here. So, what's better? Which one do you think it's better? Networks.
Network.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so this means that hierarchies are no good at all. These are good if you're looking for centralization, if you're looking for specialized roles, if you're looking for efficiency, or to explode something that you know that, okay, I'm going to explode that product, or to consolidate in a market, hierarchies are really good. Companies like, I've seen here written military, or if we go to McDonald's, it's really clear, let's be efficient. I'm sure that McDonald's or this kind of restaurants are really good on efficiency, on, okay, let's do this by the less amount of money possible. However, in the other hand, networks are good to decentralize. It's good if you have generalist people. If you want to be effective, not efficient, but effective, if you want to explore or you want to innovate, networks were better. Oh, thank you, Michael. It depends, because that's exactly what it's in here. It depends. There is no better than the other one. There is no better than the other one. Depends on what you're looking for. What it's happening nowadays is that for the complexity that is in our world, in our society, it's better to explore and to be effective than to specialize and be efficient. But you need to move between them. So when we say adaptive organizations, those are good in moving from one organizational structure to another, depending on what we need, depending on the situation, depending on the product, depending on the people we have, depending on the needs. They are good on moving from one to the other one. So what can we find in order to be good on those? And here is where we have different models. For example, John Kotter, he has written about this dual model in this book, and it really took me quite long to realize that the name of the book is Accelerate. So for a native Spanish speaker, I mean, I've seen the book many times, and at some point someone told me, oh yes, the Accelerate. Oh my God, you are crazy doing this kind of words with plays with words. So what Kotter is suggesting is, when we have an existing hierarchy, something we can do is put what he calls a second operating system in top of that, creating a network over the hierarchy. And the most popular and extended implementation of this, maybe some of you are familiar with that, it's Scaled Agile Framework, SAFe. what SAFE is suggesting is, okay, you may have this hierarchy, but we can create what they call a virtual organization on top of that, with specific roles, with specific processes, focusing on value stream, and then we can be faster on this. This is one approach. I'm not judging if this is good or bad. There is a lot of controversy around SAFe, but again, it's the most popular scaling framework so far. And it's based in this approach of dual operating system. This means that you have a hierarchy, and on top of that, you build a network. However, there are some people who disagree with that approach. And they say, okay, I do prefer to have a different perspective on this. In this case, I'm going to use the example from Simon Wardley. He's the author of the of Wordley maps. And this is, I'm going to use that. I'm going to put that link in the chat so you can have it here. Simon Wardley was a CEO from a company, and when he said, "Okay, I need to create the strategy of my company because this is what CEOs do," he realized that he didn't know how to create a strategy. So he created his own tool to create strategies, and those are called the Wordley maps. There's a lot of information in the link that I've just copied here. However, I don't want to talk specifically about Wordley maps and how to use them, but in the background that is on this. What Wordley says is, when you have a product, this is the life cycle of the product. You have a genesis of the product, so it's born. You have an idea, and then this idea, you do. With this idea, you create that product or that service, customizing. After a while, you say, okay, I think we can have this as not custom, but as a product or as a service, and do this renting the product. And at the end, this becomes a commodity. So this is the evolution of a product or a service. And what's interesting is that on each of the stages, you need different skills. For example, in Genesis or custom build, you need people who are T-shape, who can do many things, who are innovators, who are good on communicating, who are good on this, and they create this. It's like their little baby, the product that they create. It's theirs. But where the companies want to be, where the money is on this stage. Here's where the money is. Because here it's so customized that it's very expensive. And when it's a commodity, you are fighting for price in the market. So what you're looking for is, let's have a product that stays in this area. And the skills you need for a product in this area, it's different from the other areas. So what he's suggesting is, I'm not telling you that you need to change your organizational approach. What you need to change is who is in charge of a product or a service, depending on where this product is. And that's a really interesting shift regarding the other one. Because what he's suggesting is the people who create new products, new ideas, at some point, they need to let it go to other people with other specific skills. For example, Agile works really well in this area. Design thinking works really well in this area. But here, when something is a commodity, what works well is Six Sigma. It's about having these small, efficient improvements. So what he's suggesting is do not change your organization. Change who is in charge of a specific product or service. That's a very different approach from the previous example, from the dual operating system. Does that make sense? Is it clear, the examples that I've suggested? So depending on the life cycle of the product, where it is, you need different skills and different organizational models. Let's go for that one. And this time I'm going to share a video from Haier. Haier is a Chinese company who makes appliances similar to General Electric, let's say like this. And it has grown so much in the last years because of radical change they did regarding their approach to be a network organization. So I'm gonna play a video. Please let me know in the chat if you cannot see it properly or if you cannot hear it properly. Okay, because it has some audio. Okay, here it is.
Very few companies in the world have truly liberated themselves from the shackles of bureaucracy. Haier, one of the world's largest white and brown goods manufacturers, with some 80,000 employees, has done just that. 20 years ago, the Chinese company was running into the usual problems of bureaucracy: inertia, disengagement, and a lack of entrepreneurship. To fix things, Haier set out to radically reinvent itself. Under CEO Zhang Rumin's rebellious leadership, the firm embarked on a transformation program to bring back motivation, entrepreneurship, and speediness. This was guided by two main principles. One, zero distance to customers. The aim to connect employees directly to the customer. And two, everyone is an entrepreneur, creating a culture where employees feel and act as if they are true entrepreneurs. The most eye-catching element of Haier's reinvention is the change in organizational structure. The hierarchical pyramid was pulled down and replaced with a network of more than 4,000 highly autonomous micro-enterprises. Typically, a micro-enterprise employs 10 to 15 people and functions as a separate business. These independent units contract with one another to deliver products and services. Each micro-enterprise has authority in three critical areas of decision-making. 1. Strategy. Deciding what opportunities to pursue, what partnerships to form, who to collaborate with, and how to meet customer needs. 2. People. Deciding on hiring and firing, identifying roles and responsibilities, and training and development. Decisions may be taken to select or replace a micro-enterprise leader. 3. Rewards. Deciding on salary levels, bonus payments, other incentives, and the distribution of shares. Roughly, the micro-enterprises fall into two categories. First, customer-facing. As their name suggests, these are the ones in direct contact with customers. For example, repair teams, local stores, or web shops. Second, supporting. Those that indirectly help to satisfy customer needs by selling their support services to the customer-facing micro-enterprises. For example, through purchasing, manufacturing, marketing, design, or delivery. Micro-enterprises form networks that deliver products and services. Haier calls these networks micro-communities. If successful, they share profits. If not, they adapt or dissolve. This process allows the organization to be constantly changing in response to customer requirements. Think of a swarm of small companies collaborating to achieve something none could manage by working alone. Here's an example. A hired team member in the laptop division noticed a high number of specific complaints. Many customers who use their hardware for gaming were unhappy with its performance. The microenterprise spotted a market opportunity for high-performance laptops. The team pitched its idea on Hire's internal platform and launched a new micro-community focused on developing, manufacturing, and selling gaming laptops. Various aspects of the work, such as design and engineering, were subcontracted to other microenterprises for the creation of a prototype. Once in place, feedback was gathered, future demand estimated, and the product went into production. The relevant work was subcontracted by the gaming laptop microenterprise to purchasing and manufacturing microenterprises. Finally, the skills of the marketing microenterprise came into play. The gaming laptop was an instant success, and all members of the micro community shared in the profits. This example shows that Hire uses relative simplicity to create something extremely complex. Employees, or in Hire speak, entrepreneurs, form small, autonomous micro-enterprises. These micro-enterprises then form micro-communities around specific customer demands. If the micro-community succeeds, the micro-enterprises benefit, and so do the entrepreneurs. Hire has truly organized itself around zero distance to customers, and everyone is an entrepreneur. The results speak for themselves. Revenues and profits of the appliance business have grown by 20% annually over the past 10 years. And the company's new ventures have created more than $2 billion in market value. In short, Hire has successfully reinvented itself by busting bureaucracy and unleashing a hugely successful network of entrepreneurial teams. Learn more at corporate-rebels.com/academy.
I really like that example of what they did, because sometimes I think, oh, we cannot do that because we're a big company. And okay, they do have 80,000 employees. And they've created this approach of teams that they call them micro-enterprise, and then collaborate with each other, creating this community of collaboration, but it's a micro community. It's this small ecosystem. So they are really good on both things at the same time. They're good on exploring, and then as they are also specialized, they're good on being efficient for that delivery. So they've created this new model that it's really making a lot of profit. I mean, growth of 20% annually in the last 10 years. I mean, that's really, really a lot. That's really a lot. So here's another example. Okay, this Hire. Now, says Hire is led by Mr. Zhang. Yes, yeah, that is the correct. I say that one of the new gurus regarding management on this 21st century. Okay, we've seen a few, let's say, more isolated examples. Now I'd like to talk on to, I don't want to use the word framework because they're not frameworks, but in order to say they are a compendium of techniques and ideas. It's unfixed and it's flight levels. There's a comment here, love the idea of autonomy and collaboration as core values. Yeah, because if that's not in the core, it won't work. It won't work. When we say about honesty and being resilient regarding the characteristics of adaptive organizations, that's it. Okay, Michael says flight levels are really cool. Yes, I hope you like them. Let's just start with unfix. The first thing you can see here is a lot of color, because the author of this loves this these colorful things. So let's start what is not unfix. So it's not a framework, because it doesn't have like specific roles, specific techniques you should apply, like Scrum, for example. Unfix, it's not offering processes like, okay, you should do this kind of balancing of planning or whatever. Agile started mainly in IT. However, Unfix model, it's not only for IT. This is for the whole organization. Unfix, it's not a top-down approach. It's more a holistic approach. And also Unfix, it's not a replacement, meaning that if you're already using a framework like Safe, like Nexus, like something adapted from Spotify or whatever you're doing, you don't need to replace that with Unfix. Unfix is something that you can build on the top of that. So let's go a little bit deeper on this. So what's included in Unfix then? Okay, we may say if you go to unfix.com, you will see that website in here. It's unfix.com. I'm gonna write down the link in here, unfix.com. Okay, you can see that you can find the information is structured in something we call patterns and in something we call models. Patterns, it's more like specific specific patterns, specific designs that have already worked, and they say, okay, you can use them as building blocks. We're going to go deeper a little bit in these patterns because it's the most popular thing of Unfix, and it's the more related for designing organizations. And they have also what they call models. Models you can use in order to how to delegate or how to innovate or how to break dependencies. Some of those names may be familiar to you if you're familiar with Management 3.0. I don't know if you've heard about Management 3.0. The author is exactly the same. It's Jürgen Appelo. And he has used some of his work in Management 3.0 to be included in this Unfix model. For example, the delegation levels or the human drives are inspired or are copied because as they are from the same author. And this is how the website looks like, the link that I've just sent you. Okay, here you have the patterns, here you have the models, and then what's also in all this, model, there's a community behind that. There's a set of partners, and they make money because of their workshops and their events. What I mean with this is that all the information that I'm going to show you, it's publicly available on their website. So if you go to unfix.com and you click on patterns and you have a look at, okay, what are the crews, what are the teams? Here's the explanation for each one of them. And there's even a Miro board where you can use them, as a tool. Okay. So these colorful things, let's go deeper to see what are just a few of them. We're going to talk about the crews. At the beginning of the session, I talked a little bit about that book in here, that it's small. I'm going to make a little bit bigger. Team Topologies by Matthew Skelton and Manuel Pais. They've created patterns, a topology about how you can organize the teams. So what Jürgen Appelo, the author of Anfix, has done here is take those ideas and expand them a little bit. And they said, okay, here you can find this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different patterns of teams, kinds of teams you may have. He's not going into detail on the role. For example, someone at the beginning of the session said, oh yes, I'm a product owner. He's not going into detail of the roles within the team. What he's using is the purpose of those teams. And some of them are inspired / copied from team topologies. Some others are brand new. So this is from team topologies. There are 4 types of teams: streamline team, enabling team, complicated subsystem team, and platform team. And let's see what Anfix does with that. So what Anfix is doing here, it's changing a little bit the name and say, okay, sometimes you may have what they call a value stream team. And a value stream team, it's a team whose focus is to deliver valuable work to your customer. It can be the ones who are in charge of an app or who are in charge of an entire website, but what they do is to deliver this value to the end customer. And they have this end-to-end responsibility in a value stream. And they draw it with these yellow boxes. The colors are important. I'm gonna explain why later on. Also, he says, okay, they are teams which purpose are to enable other teams to do things. For example, if you are in an organization and you have a team of Agile coaches who help you on this transformation, those Agile coaches are not helping the end user. They are not delivering value to the end user. They are enabling the other teams to do that. So when you design an organization, you may think, okay, I do need value stream teams, and I do need enabling teams, facilitation teams. And you can draw them with this purplish, I don't know how to call that color, similar to blue. Okay, sometimes you may have a system so complicated that you don't want everyone putting their hands on. Or maybe the knowledge needed in order to maintain that system, it's so high, you need so skilled people that you cannot find them. And it's very difficult. And then you have to make a decision. Okay, what do I do with this? Do I spread that knowledge on every team? Or do I concentrate all this knowledge in a single team? For example, in a bank, they have some systems that are still run with COBOL or with systems made, I don't know, 30 years ago. So what do? We spread that knowledge on every team. We have a COBOL person on each team, or we concentrate them all in one. That's a design decision. And you need to know that you have this option to design this. They offer this unique expertise to the rest of the organization. And something similar, a platform team. A team that is providing shared service to everyone else. So when you start to realize that you have these patterns, these topologies of teams, let's add a few more that are not in that popular book, Team Topologies. For example, the experience crew, a team that ensures that the experience all over your products is the same, it's good. And those teams are, let's say, customer face. You can also have a team for, not for customers, but for vendors, partners, that make sure that they have also good experience and they can collaborate with you as soon as possible. So with all those patterns, something you can do is to design an organization in a way that it's good to understand. And now I go back to the colors here. If I ask you, okay, define me how is your organization? Usually we start drawing boxes and hierarchies and that's it. So what ANFIS is providing us is a toolkit, a set of rules and a set of patterns, proven patterns, that you may use to design your organization or to understand the design of your organization. For example, this is an example of VRT. This is the Belgian television streaming service. And when I see this design, I realize that, okay, they have 3 stream-aligned teams, because I recognize this for the color, and one is in charge of the Android app, the other one from the iOS app, and the other one from the website. They share a design team, and they have here those platform teams for audio, for video player, and for some drivers. And we have this governance team for all of them. Oh, cool. I mean, they are providing us a way to understand how an organization is designed, and then we can change this design. So ANFIS, what ANFIS is a design and communication tool. They allow us to visualize organization, how it is designed, and they can help us not only to make decisions during the design, but also to better understand and better communicate to the people who is affected on this organization. So let's say that you join a company, and the way that they can explain you how a company is designed, it's by this, by this kind of tools. So if you go to Miro, there's a template that you can use in order to have these building blocks. So I really do recommend to explore how this works. And if you're even more interested and you want to visit the beautiful Berlin in November, there's going to be a conference about ANFIS, and I've been invited to that conference to make a workshop about how to design organizational learning programs using ANFIS. But there's going to be a lot of really interesting cases and explanations on how to use ANFIS. Now, what says SAFE has also adopted same team topologies, patterns for teams and release trains. Yes, when they say a system team, so what SAFE is doing, it's providing you a specific solution based on these team patterns, based on this. So the system team, it's one of those. The teams are value stream teams. There is no governance tree, however. So, but they're giving you the solution. Interesting thing about ANFIS is that they're building you the kit, the building blocks, so you can play with them and you can design your organization with them. Okay, but thanks a lot, Nawaz, for your comment on this. Okay, let's go for the last one. Flight levels. Now that Nawaz has mentioned SAFE, let me do a comparison. At the end, what you have is a set of tools that you can use. And sometimes, if you want to have all the tools, you may end up with something like this. That it's like, oh, you can solve almost everything with this, but then it's so cumbersome that it's not giving you any value. So flight levels, it's more similar to this, than to this approach. And these flight levels, the name, it's a metaphor on planes regarding the information you need and the decisions you may take really depends on how high are you flying. For example, if you are about to land, being a few feet up or down, it's really important, because that may be the difference between a really nice and soft landing or hitting the ground. However, when you are at 10,000 feet, it doesn't matter if you're 20, 30, or 100 feet higher or lower. So this is something similar in organizations. You need to know, depending on which visibility on your on how high you are, you need different kind of information. So what is flight levels? It's a way to help you detect where in the organization you need to act to achieve your results. And it's providing you 5 activities in 3 different levels. It's not a framework, it's more a thinking model. It's more a way to look at the organization. This is based in the book by Klaus Leopold, Rethinking Agile. And I really like this quote: why Agile teams have nothing to do with business agility. Okay, Agile teams is one of the levels, but you need to have this more systemic view. So, 5 activities. When they say you need to apply 5 activities, they say, okay, you need to visualize. It's important to see how the information is flowing. It's important to see how the work is flowing. It's important to create focus. How can you create focus? Maybe prioritizing, maybe limiting the working process. Maybe it's really related Kanban with flight levels at some points. You need to establish agile interactions. This means, okay, it's good if you have some specific meetings, but it's not prescribing you the meetings like Scrum. You need to have the daily meeting, the sprint planning, the sprint review. No, it's just create your own interactions. You need to measure the progress and operate and improve. Operate and improve. So you need to apply those activities at different levels to achieve business agility. And what are the levels? Those are the 3 different levels. On top, upper level, we have the strategy, the direction, the priority of the company. This is what we call flight level 3. Let me go down. On flight level 1, you have operations, teams, individuals, work is done, you deliver the product. This is where the customers are helped here. And in the middle, as a connection, you have the coordination level. So if you think of an organization, you start to have what we call work items. For example, you go to an organization and you say, what do you do here? Okay, we have projects, and then we have some tasks, and our annual objectives, and our strategy and vision. Okay, if you try to create a taxonomy on this, you think, okay, I have a vision, this vision leads me to strategy, then to annual objectives, and then maybe you realize that you have a really high gap in here, and you say, okay, I'm going to close that gap with quarterly objectives that I will achieve with projects, and maybe projects and tasks, it's too big gap. Let's have some kind of deliverables and tasks. You may change this with epics, user stories, whatever you feel comfortable with, whatever it's in your organization. And when you have this clear taxonomy, you say, okay, I'm going to divide that. This is flight level 1, projects, deliverables, and tasks. Maybe OKRs, absolutely. Maybe OKRs. Then on flight level 2, I'm going to have quarterly objectives and projects. And on flight level 3, I'm going to have a strategy, annual objectives, and quarterly objectives. What about the vision? okay, you can include the vision in flight level 3, or you can remove it because it's so static that it doesn't make sense. You decide. The most important thing is that you need something repeated on each level. So quarterly objectives are shared by flight level 3 and 2, and projects are shared by flight level 2 and 1. And when you have this, you think, okay, I'm going to spread this into different systems. And each system is consulted and maintained by different teams. You have some teams on level 1, so you have several systems. This means that you may have, for example, this group of people who are looking to this group of projects, that other who is looking to other group of projects for a specific customer, whatever. But those are flight level 1 systems. This is where Kanban works really well, for example. Michael said, vision doesn't have to be static, it can be emergent. Yeah, absolutely agree. This one here, it's just an example. Then you have people who are looking at the coordination, making sure that the quarterly objectives are met thanks to our projects. And then you have people who make sure that the strategy and the annual objectives are progressing properly. And this may seem a little bit hierarchical. It doesn't need to be like this. Okay, I'm going to change some people to some places because this really depends on what information needs each one of them. And once we have those levels, those 3 levels, what we do is we repeat the activities in each one of those different levels. Okay, so that was a sneak peek of flight levels, and with this we've completed the 6 organizational patterns, organizational tips that I wanted to give you. So before continuing, let me give the message that adaptability, it's not you are an adaptive organization or you're not. So adaptability, it's a gradual competence. So before going to the next one, I want to know, Neilu, how are we on regarding time? How much time do we have left?
Oh, we have 15 minutes.
15 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I'm sure that in these 16 minutes, I can share with you that second half, that it's 6 specific things you can do to increase your adaptability. And those things are based on the dimensions that I suggested before. We're going to talk about how to reduce cultural dissonance, increase customer centricity, faster response to emerging challenge, reduce delivery size, visual organization networks, and increase your reteaming skills. All of those are specific examples, like case studies, if you want, trying to have more grounded examples of how to be more adaptive. We've seen those 6 organizational structures, hierarchies, and now it's like, okay, I have a lot of things to Google from now on. Let's see some specific examples. So, reducing cultural dissonance. Before I explain the concept of coherent culture and how to not have a dissonance culture, this is when what you say and what you do are not aligned. When you say something and then you do that something, you have a coherent culture. So we had a company that had let's say a spin-off. It was a large bank, and they say, okay, I want to have my smaller digital bank, so it's a brand new company. And they said, and we don't want them to be exactly the same as us. So they reviewed the mother company values, and then they asked for expected behaviors that reflect those values. They did workshops with many people asking for the company values, and okay, so regarding those values, this is what you say, what things you should do, what are the expected behaviors for those values. And once they've identified them, they said, okay, let's reinforce those behaviors because this is what we expect, and let's encourage the disapproval of dissonant situations. This was a great way to create a coherent culture bottom up from the whole organization. So this is something you may do. There's a really nice article in here. I'm gonna share the link in the chat, explaining more details regarding this. And there's even a video. The link. I'm gonna also share this. I'm gonna also share this link to the video. But making sure that doesn't start. Where we explain that case study with our customer of what we did. So if you want more details, have a look at these links. But in summary, it's go to your people, review your values, and say, okay, what behaviors do you expect from those values, and then reinforce them. This is a great way to reduce this cultural dissonance and have what we call a coherent culture. Okay, let's go for another one. We say that it's important to be customer-centric. Okay, how can we increase our customer centricity? Here's an example of what we did. For some of you may be familiar those illustrations. It's about design thinking, and it's about starting. It doesn't matter how good looks the idea that you had. It needs to be desirable. So it's better to start of what do your customers want, and then have a look if it's feasible and have a look if it's viable. Because the innovation centered on the customer, it's on this intersection, but you must start here. So what happened is that we had a great idea, and we went to our customers from HR departments, and we didn't explain our idea. First, we started saying, okay, what are your needs? What are your jobs to be done? And it's amazing how many things you can discover when you ask your customers, because we discovered so many hidden pains. And then we created and validated with them a value proposition canvas of this service. We did an internal pilot to prototype that solution. And when we delivered a training program based on this. We are a training company. We had a nice idea of a training service, but instead of explaining that to the customers and saying, oh, look what this new service we came up with, we started the other way around. So listen to your customers, ask your customers. Don't be afraid to create workshops with them and to ask them things as you don't know it. So specific thing to increase customer centricity. Another specific example, being fast responding to an emergent challenge. In this case, this is something that we did. That was March 2020, when pandemic started, at least in Spain. So everything was closed. We did a lot of face-to-face training, and suddenly we had zero face-to-face training. We have been delivering online, like virtual training, since 2012. However, it was just 1, 2, 3 trainings a year, sorry. So what we did is, okay, we need to create 4 new trainings. These 4 new trainings were explained here. It was a train the trainers for virtual courses, Agile remote facilitation, working with virtual teams, and leading virtual teams. Those things were already in our backlog for years. but you never had time to design them. So what we did is focus. We created 4 small cross-functional teams. If we go to unfix, those would be value stream teams. And each team focused in one solution. And what we did is we sent this invitation form to our customers, and we said, hey, we are designing these trainings. Would you like to help us? Would you like to participate for free in a pilot? And what we want in return is your feedback and helping us to define a really nice training. Would you be interested? So we sent that email to our customers. And yes, we had customers who were interested in that. So in 10 days, we delivered a free pilot. We collected the feedback. And the first customer delivery, the first paid delivery that we did, it was in less than 3 weeks. So some competitors took about 3 months to do that. So it's about focus. It's about value stream teams. They have end-to-end responsibility and collaboration with your customer. And it works. It's about making the decision. More things you can try. Reducing delivery size. I'm gonna click on this link and share it again. I really love this approach from the PMI. When we say MVP, usually has a lot of confusion on this term. So have a look at this approach. You need to distinguish between what they call a minimum business increment, so something usable for a customer, and MVPs, something that helps you learn something. And you need to think, okay, what is the minimum thing that I can release that is delivering value? Let's go for it. Let's go for it. And really good question you need to ask your customer when co-creating is that one here. Is this something you may start using right now? This simple question helps you a lot to define small increments. When we say that Agile and agility, it's about incremental delivery, think about those increments and think about how fast you can get the feedback. Distinguish between an MVP, this is something to learn, but then you can throw that to the garbage, and something that is delivering value to your customers. Have a look at this link because it's really, really useful, that approach. Another one, visualize organizations as networks. This is higher than what we've seen before. I'm sure you distinguish, many of you may distinguish this image from the Spotify model. Spotify model was so popular 10 years ago because of that article. But one of the reasons it was so clear, it's because of the visualization of the model. So visualize your organization, create a network, visualizing informal relationships or visualizing how the information flows. So the simple message here, it's visualize things. Visualize how your organization is designed and how your organization works, and put effort on making this visual nice and pleasant to see, because you will gain a lot of understanding by creating it and by sharing it, explaining it. You're gonna get a lot of value on this. So this is just a simple recommendation, simple thing. Visualize your organization. And the last one, reteaming, increase your reteaming skills. This is a book that I also recommend a lot. Here you have the Twitter from the author, Heidi Helfand. This is a book called Reteaming. It's a book called Reteaming that the premise that he's using is that, okay, team change, you're gonna find team change sooner or later. So you better be good on changing your team. The Tugman model, forming, storming, norming, and then performing, it's good, but nowadays you need to make this really fast. So you need to be good on creating and disassembling, it's the word, or creating and destroying. I don't like destroying.
Dismantling.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. No, doing that with the teams. So they will be able to do it better next time. For example, things you can do. You can run a hackathon with teams created on the fly that they work intensively during this short period. So they need to get on with each other really fast. Or, for example, this is something that we do in our in NetMind. We have an innovation program where one of the rules for the innovation teams is they have to be from different areas. So they learn to work with each other. They are used to work with different teams. Those teams are based on informal relationships. So then it's good forming new teams. Recognizing reteaming patterns like the ones in team topologies. So all of those things that you can do within 6 different specific things. What I do suggest is, okay, think about those, let's add some other ones, create things in order to improve, to increase your adaptability in those different areas. Have different programs that work on the human part, the processes, and in this way you can improve, you can increase your adaptability. And how can be the journey for this approach? This is really fast. How to do it? Okay, 4 steps that will help you. This is ready, go, steady. So no steady, it's ready, go. Do not overplan. You must have internal leadership. This cannot be led by an external consultancy. This must be led internally and be co-created with them if needed. And then experiment, collaborate, measure the progress, prioritize things, ask for the feedback, learn from the experience, pivot if you realize that you're not in the appropriate direction. And this is for me the most important, continuous knowledge transfer, So you need to measure how long does it take you to learn something. You need to learn fast. And how long does it take you to react to something? You need to act fast. So adaptive organizations are those who learn fast and act fast. It's both things. And the journey goes on. So those are the books that I do recommend that have inspired us to create this presentation. And it's 1:30 here in Spain. I think we are o'clock. So thank you.